Hi.
Nancy. Hey,
See, like, look, see this
Nancy.
dog over here? I got my pillows all nice and set, and look at this
Oh,
dog.
yeah.
I want to
He just
see. I want
decided
to
to
see.
camp out here and ruin my whole thing.
hmm
How's everybody
Dogs are
doing?
awesome.
Welcome.
Good, very good.
Oh, I was getting
Welcome.
all my slides and everything ready. We're not doing that now. We're doing book club.
It's book club time.
Oh, okay, hold on. Let's see. I've got to try to get my book club, my book set up here. I think it's actually kind of set up.
I signed on
Okay.
to the wrong book club this morning for next week, and I saw that it was 8 a.m. and I was like, sad face. I'm here at 9. I missed it.
Oh,
And then
how was it though?
I was
How
on
was
the
it? How was our future book club? Was like, did we get better? You can
link.
let us
That's
know after today if we were better next week.
that's hilarious.
My wrong date.
Time travel is so funny. Kills me. Okay, Natasha said she's coming. And
Oh,
then
good.
let's see. Is my book working?
Yep.
Oh, you
Looks like
Are we going to go
I
chapter
was
by
all
chapter?
prepared for the next thing.
Well, I know today we're finishing the premise, and then next week just chapter one.
Just chapter one.
Just chapter
Is that
one. There was
I'm gonna pause
if
this again because
any option's fine? Is that later?
more chance for us to get
one.
together and hang out. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
let's
Well,
see.
also the chapters are short, Evan. That's one of the things.
yeah.
Yeah, which I like. It's like
Yeah.
let's one idea. It's kind of like I look at the premise I look for this week, and it's like there's kind of just two ideas in the premise, really.
Mhm.
And we explored the first one last week, and now this week we're moving into the next one. So I'll do a little recap. Okay, once we get Natasha in here, we're going.
I came
Wait
home
for
to
you
all these.
wait for no man or woman.
Except
You
Natasha.
were all waiting for me when I got home.
Wait,
Good
oh, check
morning,
it out.
Natasha.
Wait, hold those up, Don. Hold those up, Don. Let me
It was
spot
like
that for you.
Done!
Here's somebody who wants to get down with the book.
Done!
You got the way of the spiritual warrior. I love it.
Oh, wow.
I quote that. I
See?
mean, I don't remember. I mean, I remember it. I kind of remember everything that happens, but
I love that.
um, that one quote to me is just like the best ever. Um, I'm going to say hi to Mary. I think Mary's here,
I'm Mary.
Hi,
but
Mary.
Hi, Natasha.
I
Hi
don't want to. If
everyone. I
she
just
wants to,
thought I'd jump on.
well, please do. Please do.
Okay,
Yeah.
getting ready
Welcome.
to head out, so I'm just jumping on for a moment.
Yeah, yeah. You guys, Mary's great. You're gonna love Mary.
I love
When
Mary.
she's ready to sort of say hello to everybody. Okay, we're getting started. Let's not
Yes.
mess around anymore. So,
Yes.
let's see. Book club. We're the Surrender Experiment. Yay! And we are discussing today the second half of the premise. I'll sort of do a recap, but first, Angie's going to give us a little meditation, and then I'll lead us in a little prayer, and then we'll kick off this shindig.
Thank you, Evan. All right, friends. See if you can just relax and get comfortable in your chair or your seat. And just take a breath in and let it out. Just letting go, just relaxing. Maybe you're feeling the weight of the body in your seat now. Just letting go. And breathing in and just noticing your breath. You don't have to make it exaggerated breath, just your normal breath. And for a moment, if you will focus right around your eyes and just relax all the muscles there. Lots of little muscles there, nerves there, just relax. Move down to your jaw. Sometimes we hold our jaw tight there. Sometimes clench it, just relax that area. Just let the jaw fall. Relax. Just feeling that energy. We're just surrendering and enjoying the peace. Letting that peace come in. And if you have any thoughts come in, that's okay. Just watch them go by like clouds. We don't have to push them away. Just watch them go by. Just enjoying the breath and the peace. And if you feel anything in your heart, just letting go and relax. Relaxing through the body, all the way down to the toes. Feeling that enjoyment of just being here, just the energy, just the peace and welcoming it. Let's gently take a couple more breaths. Now we can just start that flow of energy back up the body and becoming just a little bit at a time, a little bit of a breath, becoming more and more aware of the room, the surroundings that you're in. And another breath will bring our attention to our eyes, back to our mind, and bring that peace and that love with us as we open our eyes.
Thanks, Angebel. That's what I call my sister, Angebel. All right, so let's just do a quick little prayer here and get ourselves centered, and then we'll go straight into it. So, universe, God, spirit, great mystery, whatever you call that deepest sense inside of yourself, that's what we're praying to. We just ask that you show us what you want us to see, allow us to hear what you want us to hear, open up our hearts, our minds, our souls, our spirits, just to receive, and then also help us to be in touch with our deepest instincts, to make the connections that we need to make, to say the words that we need to say that will inspire and connect others. Most of all, just help us to be open. Amen. All right, so you guys will be very happy to hear that I had an inspiration, or you may be happy to hear. I don't want to speak for you. I had an inspiration this morning about the best way to sort of approach the book club, which I will sort of reveal in the second half. So, second half reveal. Okay, so just a little bit of a recap of the first half of the premise, right? Basically, as you start to look at this, he kind of divides it into two parts. You know, there's kind of the one part which we talked about last week, which was, here is this mind, this ego consciousness, and it's trying to control everything, kind of all the time, and the sort of disaster that is, and that's what we kind of covered. And then this week there's sort of a new thought, a new idea, which is, hold on, let me find it, and then let me show you guys the book. Let's see, there's the book. You guys see that? Okay. So, right, so the whole first half is we're attempting to control everything in our lives, and that's a mess. So then the question is, does it have to be this way? And so the first thing that I looked at in the second part is, if the natural, you guys can see this, right? So if the natural unfolding of the process of life can create and take care of the entire universe, is it really reasonable for us to assume that nothing good will happen unless we force it to? That's sort of the question on the table that he kind of explores. So just starting from there, is there, I mean, that very much spoke to me. Like, and I don't want to get too far into the sort of all the good stuff, but why don't we start there and start a discussion there? Did anybody else mark that? And does anybody else have anything to say on that piece? I saw some heads nod. Yes, go ahead, Don.
Well, this really spoke to me because I feel like I could relate it into experiences in my life that just kind of, kind of reinforce what he's talking about here. And when I really look back on times where things have flowed, and it seems more like when I'm going in, rather than fighting against the stream and really trying to make something happen. And I've had those experiences where it just doesn't seem to be, falling into line. And I some I would say, like, even my last or my current career, I don't feel like I forced that to happen. It felt intuitive in everything from, I was in a place with no money, and people usually are really in fear of those things, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to, or I just let, what, the universe has me. And all these things opened up from scholarship. Everything was taken care of.
Wow.
Allow me to do all these things. And I've had those experiences over and over, but I've also had the opposite. I mean, even with the dog I have, she's a reactive dog, and I thought, it's too much for me. How am I gonna? I can't even get a dog walker. I just released it to, like, what does the universe want? And I'm sure it's gonna take care of me. And then these people came in that could handle her and teach me, and the money came, and I don't think it was like woo woo. It just felt like I really felt like I didn't get this far in my life to be, in this place where I'm, not to have faith. And I felt like things have aligned like the way they were supposed to.
That's awesome. That's really good. And I think, to me, I think it's really good to be able to see and feel that difference. What this clutching, grasping feels like, and what this open-handed thing, allowing life to flow, even when you want to contract.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant.
I mean, I've had
Anything
those
else?
experiences too, of holding on,
Oh,
like
yeah. I
that
mean,
relationship. Ugh.
I don't think any of us would be sitting here across from each other if we didn't. You know what I mean? Like, we would be on this other plane of existence. So that's everybody has that. There's no question about that. Everybody has some gripping, and in a very real way, this whole group is entirely devoted to where are you gripping and how to let that go, so that this flow can happen. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else want to touch on this paragraph? Great contribution, Don. Thank you. No, no one else? Okay, go ahead, Susie.
I guess I just wanted to say that I had a similar experience in middle school where I became aware of that observing voice, but I was surprised by his like tug of war negative reaction to it.
Are you talking about chapter 1 where he had this sort of he snapped and realized about his mind? Are you going ahead, Susie? Are you trying to show
Well,
us all
Dawn
up?
went
Is
a
that...
little ahead, didn't she? I don't know. I know the blood is so blurry because damn it, I thought the observing was still in the premise. It wasn't. Okay.
It's not. No, it's chapter 1. But I'm
Okay.
glad you're reading ahead. Actually,
I
Dawn
can't help it.
went to next week's Zoom meeting, and she said it's really good. So make sure you guys tune in. She went
She
to the Zoom
reported
link
back.
for next week. Apparently, it's great. So we really learned a lot between this week and next week. All right, well, you
Okay,
can
I will
save that
withdraw
comment.
mine.
I mean, I
Okay.
know it's exciting. I want to talk about that too. I want everybody to talk about their spiritual experiences. I know Natasha pretty well, and Natasha has some pretty vivid and serious spiritual awakenings to share. So that'll be fun. So we'll save that for next week.
I'll just sit here in my grips.
Yeah, just clench tight like this, especially.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so going on to this next page here, there's a couple of other things. I'm going to hand it over to Angie. So so this is kind of the premise of the whole thing, really the whole book, right? Because this thing's called The Premise. There must be another way, a more sane way to approach life than all this gripping. What would happen if we respected the flow of life? That's kind of the question. And it's like this whole book is kind of the answer to that question. So I don't know I mean, that's just kind of the setup. I don't know if anybody wants to touch on that, or should I just hand it over to Angie? And handing it over to Angie. Angie, I'm going to leave this page up, and actually let me do one thing here. I can get it so this section is on one page. using modern technology. Oh, can I? Am I lying?
That's, yeah, you're not lying. You got this.
All right. Well, I can't.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
There we go.
so this whole flow of life thing, which is what I want to be in, but I feel like, and I don't know if this is just like related to the book, but just what he's talking about, it's like that's where I want to be because I know that's not going against the stream and I want what the universe wants for me. So I'm in that place. Am I being lazy and procrastinating at this point in my life, or they're
Yes,
blocked?
you especially lazy. No, of course not. No, we no, it's like we can't be. I mean, I think that's the big adjustment that we all need to make. It's impossible for us to do that. And somehow the same mechanism that we're talking about here is telling us that we should control this and be able to surrender and live in that place all the time. So it's this kind of endless loop that we can't get out of. So that's where this notion, if we start to bring in the 12-step thing of we're powerless over the fact, because as we talk, in the next hour, we're going to go back to talking about our blocks. These blocks, these physiological things overtake us completely. And there's nothing we can do to stop that except begin to become aware of the bars of our prison. That's all we can do. And as we do, we start to release our grip again, right? So no, it is not it is in no way a failing on your part that you're not able to sustain this flow of life. It would be absurd to think that you should be able to. But again, as we remove a bar at a time in your prison, you have a little bit more room to move around. You have more freedom. And that's all we're interested in here. Who knows if anybody's going to cross the finish line to complete freedom. We're just interested in every day getting freer, right? Freeing ourselves from that bondage. Absolutely. So that's a great question. Okay, so I'm passing this off to Angie. I think, Angie, that puts this whole thing on the page. So if you want to read that and take it away.
Thank you. Great. Well, I wanted to read a little bit here that stuck out to me. And it says, what we have here is the basis for an amazing experiment. At the heart of the experiment is a simple question. Am I better off making up an alternate reality in my mind and then fighting with reality to make it be my way? Or am I better off letting go of what I want and serving the same forces of reality that managed to create the entire perfection of the universe around me? And why this stuck out to me is because I never realized that I was fighting anyone or anything. I didn't realize I was in a constant fight. I wasn't aware of that. So I was like, how, when did I start doing this? That was my next question. Well, how long have I been fighting? I didn't realize that I was fighting. Now I see I'm fighting. Because I'm trying to create this reality that I have played over and over in my mind. So that's the fighting, right? Well, how long have I been doing this? And I'm like, well, since I can remember, right? So I thought of this little story. I'll try to be okay, make it in a nutshell. So we used to have, before there was internet and all that, when you were a kid, if you were around my age, you would get for Christmas, this is Christmas time, you would get a Sears catalog. And the toy section was in the back of the catalog. And Evan and I would take turns circling everything that we wanted for Christmas. And I don't know, I believe I was around 7. I wanted a few things, but the main thing was Western Barbie. I wanted Western Barbie and her horse. Okay. And here comes Christmas, and I have, that one gift that's marked from Santa, and I open it and it's Western Barbie. And I'm so excited. It's Western Barbie. It's Western Barbie. Okay, there's another thing. Here's the horse. Here's the horse. And I open the horse. It's not the right horse. It is not Western Barbie's horse. It is a horse, maybe an off-brand, that was too short for Western Barbie. And so I test it and I put Barbie on the horse and she's like coming off. Her feet won't fit in the stirrups. And I begin to cry because all I wanted was Western Barbie and her horse. And I didn't get the right horse. This is not what was in my mind So I start to cry and I look over and my dad was like, "Don't you dare start crying."
Ooh.
And I was like, then I realized for the first time, like, you know, you're being ungrateful. You're, it didn't come out the way you wanted to. So you're, you know, you're acting out, you're throwing a fit. So that's what kind of it made me think of. Yeah.
That's great, Angie.
Can I
Yeah,
say
talk.
something?
Yeah.
The way I hear that story is not like that you were ungrateful. The way I hear it is that you already had a pattern in your life of feeling invisible. And so to me, the way I hear that is that it being the wrong fit for your Barbie, it was just yet another confirmation that your needs didn't matter, your wants didn't matter, and that the invisibility you felt was seemed to be affirmed by the gift. That's how I feel it. You know, that's how I hear that. You know, that it's not that you're an ungrateful kid, you're a kid that just didn't feel seen. And so you're reaching for that external of the horse and feeling like, oh my God, my needs matter. They got me that. And then it was like the wrong one. And then when you had a feeling about it, you were made wrong. So that's my perception of that story. That story to me breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And that
That
fits
is a
because
heartbreaking
that
story.
is, I was, yeah, that fits. Thank you.
Well, and two, we can all kind of see like that. Maybe the first time you had that thought of I'm ungrateful, maybe it was earlier, but let's just say that was the first time. Can you see how when you're a kid, when you're 7, you don't have the capacity to say, "Oh, that's a thought that I'm thinking about reality. Let me now take a moment and decide whether or not that is actually true or not. Let me decide whether or not my father is giving me the truth." None of us did that. When you heard that thought, that was your brain saying, "This is reality. You are ungrateful." And so I bet ever since that has been a voice in your head, right, that you've had to deal with and contend with, that you're ungrateful. And we saw it constructed right there. So then back to Don's point, like, you know, this is how we don't have a chance. It's not a thought in your head that you're ungrateful. It's you are ungrateful. And that gets triggered and there's kind of no way to stop it until you start to go, "Oh, wait a minute. That's just a thought that happened. And that's not necessarily the truth." And then we start to step out of it. Yeah, Natasha.
I'm so sorry. I'm jumping the gun. You're like talking, and I thought, keep thinking you're done, and then I'm raising my hand. Sorry.
I'm never done talking.
And the way I also hear that with Angie, like for me, that's a really powerful example of something I'm trying to incorporate in my life. And of course, hearing it from the Angie's perspective and the Angie's perspective, and seeing it with Angie will probably help me do it with myself. Like, so for me, I hear that as like when Angie feels ungrateful, when she feels ungrateful, that's the time to go, wait a minute, and like become the watcher and go, am I feeling invisible in some way? Because the thing of you're ungrateful was a tool to manage feeling invisible and to manage my needs don't count. So when you're feeling ungrateful, are you trying to tamp down on something where you're feeling invisible or like your needs don't matter? Is like, you know what I mean? So it's so interesting how the character defects, character defenses in a way are compasses to the healing.
It's the layer under it. You know, I saw it as this and then going under it. I did feel, you know, unimportant, invisible. Absolutely. Yes. So we'll remember to look under it when it comes up.
Right. And the way you manage that is by trying to say to yourself, Angie, don't be ungrateful. Right. And so then you don't even have to deal with the feeling of invisibility.
Right.
Because that's the way these things are built.
Yeah.
Okay, Susie.
I'm glad. Thank you for sharing, Angie. And I'm glad Natasha brought that up right in the midst there because they are so intertwined. And I feel like, you know, it was a survival mechanism for Angie in that moment of fear to adopt what Daddy said because she had to adopt it or she would give her own natural reaction, which was my needs don't matter. They didn't hear me. So instead, adopting I'm ungrateful allowed her to not cry, allowed her to stay safe. And all those decisions are for me the ones that are the, stay with us for a long time. And being able to pull that apart, I love watching this process, and I totally relate with my own father and the simple decisions I had to make to live in his world.
Mm.
And I only found strength when I was able to step back and go, oh, I have to live in his world right now, and I'm going to make these deals so that I can survive. But someday I'll get to build my own world, and he won't get to live in my world unless
Yeah.
he plays by my rules. And that
Mm.
was something that gave me strength. But
Mm.
I'm loving and watching you and relating, and thank you for letting us pick all these parts.
That was gorgeous, Susie.
Thank
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Susie.
you.
I know I'm getting my heart. Thank you.
All right. Anybody want to say anything about this passage that Angie read? Anybody had their own come in with their own thoughts on it when they read it? Okay, so there's a couple of other things that I think are interesting here toward the back of this, which very much leads me to, I think there's a I think there's a way for us to really, and it's kind of already happening, but I think there's a way to really take this and connect this to all the work that we've been doing in a cool way. So let's experiment with that. So let's come back to the book, and so there's a passage leaping into life to live in a place where we are no longer controlled by our personal fears and desires. That's, if you were to translate personal fears and desires, we would call that parts, or we would call those energy blocks that we've been talking about, right? So back to your point, Don, of how can we live in a world where we're not controlled by this stuff? And then I skip ahead kind of here to the sort of back half, because he kind of says the same thing a little bit. It's kind of this one idea, what would happen? And then he shares his personal experience. My personal experience is that aligning one's will with the natural forces unfolding around us leads us to some surprisingly powerful results. And obviously, we don't know what the results are here at this point in the book, but I would say, going forward, the results are incredibly surprising and powerful too. So there's a lot of promise in that. And so then if anybody wants to say anything about anything up to this point, please do. And then I have sort of a question for everybody. Anyone Bueller? Okay. So here's the question. This book is talking about a radical level of surrender. I think everybody gets that. Yes. Like, basically, it's talking about surrendering everything, which sounds really sweet and really good, right? It's like, oh, I just want to live in that flow and all of that. But now, what I want you to think about in your life is imagine surrendering everything. And when we say everything, we mean everything. When you start to get to this, when you get to the general, it's like, that sounds great. When you get into the specifics, it starts to get a little bit more scary. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to start to get in touch with the things where it's like, wait a minute, I can't surrender that. Like the things I commonly hear in response to something like this are, yeah, but I have to do the footwork, or I've got to earn some money. How does personal hygiene play into your surrender? Are you ready to surrender your personal hygiene? What? And so maybe actually, let's even do it as a little bit of an exercise. Why don't you guys all just take a second and write down the things that you think would be the hardest to surrender? Some things to look at, to consider. How about people hating you? Are you comfortable with people hating you? Are you ready to surrender to being hated? So what we have the opportunity to do here is to see what we just talked about, right? We just talked about, let me find it. Leaping into life to live in a place where we're no longer controlled by our personal fears and desires. Okay, so that's the goal. But now what we're coming up against is our personal fears and desires, and they are quite strong. So what are they? What are they? And this is, kind of, this dovetails really nicely with the work that we're doing in the blocks workshop, right? Is what are the things that are blocking us? These are blocks. These are the places where, as Angie, illustrated so perfectly for us, where we are protecting ourselves. Everything that is off about us, that isn't in alignment with who we know ourselves to be, is some form of protection. And that's all it is. And it's the ego protecting itself. And so to draw this point even further, to take Angie's story, right? Angie didn't decide to say, okay, I'm going to try not to be ungrateful. That happened. Her physiology, her body said, uh-oh, if I'm not grateful, I'm going to get in trouble. I could even get beat, right? And so her physiology said, we are going to avoid this. And the way that we're going to avoid this is we're going to attempt to be grateful all the time. We are never going to get into this place of being ungrateful because that's bad. And she had nothing to do with any of that process. She did not decide to do it. It was decided for her by the protection mechanisms that are trying to keep her safe. And our father was an incredibly scary person. And her life was on the line. And so she didn't have the choice to reject his ideology, right? It was pure survival, because that's what our bodies do. They survive. And all the ways that we are suffering now come from our early survival adaptations. All right. So if you're working on your list while I'm jabbering away, what is coming up for you? I'll throw out a couple others just to add to your list. Are you okay with being broke? Did you see? Are you starting now to see the level of attachments that you have? Are you okay being injured? How comfortable would you be losing a limb? Are you looking forward to dementia? I know, right? Are you starting to see what surrender sounds so nice? It's like in my other life, I'm a sponsor, yes, and I do not yet let my sponsees use that word. That is the most like watered down word, that we use like in program, right?
Wait, what word? What word?
Surrender. Right? It's just not, because it doesn't appear in step 1 in the 12 and 12, that word. What do they say instead? You must hit bottom. Everybody knows what bottom is. That sucks. Surrender sounds nice. Surrender sounds pleasant. Oh, I know I need to surrender that. That's what people say. Oh, I've got to surrender that. And it's just like, what are you talking about? The instructions are admit your absolute hopelessness, see the futility of life as you've been living with it. It's much, much, much more intense than I better surrender that, right? So how full is your list getting here? All right, anybody want to share? You're going to find that it's actually very long, the things that you are not willing to surrender. Are you willing to surrender your marriage? Are you willing to surrender having no partner in the future? Right. I mean, these are all really, really juicy ones. Yeah. Okay. Angie, do you want to share yours?
Yeah. So
Can I just?
go ahead.
I'm about to leave you guys very soon. Can I just share? And I can't put on
Yeah, please.
And I'm having trouble with my phone. I'm about to go to a wedding. I'm kind of running late.
All right.
I just wanted to say that I wasn't able to write a list, but I wanted to share a surrender I'm doing right now, and that is that I'm going to a place where, it's my whole neighborhood. As somebody getting, one of their kids getting married from the neighborhood, and I gained a tremendous amount of weight, and it'd be one to just stay home and hide and not do it. And so I'm doing it anyway, despite all those feelings. That's it. That's my contribution today.
That's very good. I mean, that is an act of surrender, right? Your entire physiology is saying, don't do this. This is life-threatening. Stay away from this. Hide in your small hole. And you are not listening to that, and you were doing the opposite. That's the feel the fear and do it anyway thing. So I think we all applaud you. Let's give Odelia some applause
You're
for being
brave. Yay.
Yes. Thank you for not hiding.
Good job, Odelia.
Good job.
Thank
And
you.
you're doing a great
Appreciate
job
it.
of not hiding in our community. So So go and just have fun if you can, as much
Yay.
as you can.
Have fun? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
It's a theory I read about fun. All right, well, have a good time, sweetheart. Okay, Angie, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so at the top of my list is my children.
Oh,
That is my hugest attachment in life. Yeah, I mean, thinking of losing my children is a nightmare that I have had many times. Like it's it's unfathomable, absolutely unfathomable. I mean, I put everything into them, and even more when I got divorced in 2010, because I was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to get these kids through college. I mean, I'm going to do, I mean, blood, sweat, and tears, work, toil, trouble, just for them. And so I have some other things on my list, but that is the major deal breaker.
and by the way, Angie is an awesome mom, and she put her kids through college, and they are two of the most exceptional human beings. These young men, they're really incredible. I'm a lousy parent compared to Angie, so
Not true. Not true. Not true. Natasha
compared
knows.
to
I
you,
know.
I'm pretty good, but compared to you, I'm like a C minus.
What are you
Um,
talking about? Oh my God.
you haven't
know
met
what
have
he's
you met
talking
her
about.
nephews? You met her nephews, my nephews.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I also know your son.
my son's pretty cool, but
Is
Oh my
amazing.
God.
okay. So yes, so the Buddhists, Angie, would encourage you. This is a challenging idea, but it goes in line with what we're talking about here. Would encourage you to do a meditation, right, where you lose your children and to
Wow.
walk through that. To walk through that. We were talking the other day about dying before you die. This is a different way. He's saying this in a different way, right? So we're going to look at what he's saying in this book, but we're going to talk about it in all these different ways. You see, once you get started, do you see how different it, when you read the book, it's so nice. But when you start to get into the practical realities of this, it's like, okay, this is like legit for real, right? So we wanted to get this book out of fantasy. Oh, I can't wait till I'm living and everything is just flowing so perfectly. Oh, it's so fantastic. Right? Right? It's like, right. But the real way this happens, and in the next chapter, Susie sort of hinted at it, it's like he's going to have a sort of break with this voice in his head, right? Preview, right? And so we're going to be looking at our relationship to that voice in our head, which we already are, but we want to extend that further. And I think the real opportunity with this book is what kind of shift and transformation can we have that mirrors his as he goes through this? It's one thing to read a book. It's another thing to kind of like live it. And, it's like, I've read this book several times, and it's like I know the journey, and it's like it really is this journey to personal freedom, which is what we're talking about. And each person's looks different, but what is yours going to be? And this is an opportunity, an invitation, and a bit of a roadmap to doing that. But these questions of, okay, what is it that you're not comfortable surrendering? So I think unless you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the way to go through this book, is to really apply it directly to our lives and take what we're learning in all the workshops that we're doing and go and draw the comparison. Okay, Natasha.
I have a question. So based on what you just said to Angie and like the fear and what her walking through. So a huge thing that is on the plate for me right now, as you know, is terror about dating someone 14 years older than me.
Yes.
And how would you, and I know it's underneath it, I'm terrified of going through the torture and suffering again that I went through being my mother's caretaker.
Yes.
Okay. So that's what's underneath it. Fear of torture and suffering. Okay. Even though I've surrendered my whole suffering thing, like a reenactment of the mother thing. And then another fear that comes with it is fear of, being with somebody who doesn't have a really amazing retirement in place or plan in case they got sick and couldn't work. Okay. Because what that adds to it then is while my other fear of while also being in financial security, being made broke, being broken by financial insecurity, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
basically compounding the torture with financial fear torture. So what you said to Angie, like she should run the tape through by like, what would it look like then if her kid died? Which I did that with my brother, by the way, Angie. Okay. It worked. I just want to mention that was exactly what I did with my brother, and it healed my absolute neediness and codependency on having him in my life completely, and led to us having a completely different relationship. But anyway, so what would you say to me about that, Ev? Like, what should I do? Because I'm mega in the grips of that.
Okay. I think the second one is easier than the first one. I think we should focus on the first one. The second one is just your own fear of financial insecurity, which you can work with directly. All that is his business is just the trigger for that. So it's like, you've got a way to sort of work on that directly. The first one I think is more interesting, right? In terms of, okay, here's this sort of nightmare of I've got to take care of this person. So there's some charge and there's energy there, right?
Yeah, terror.
Yeah, terror. Perfect. Yeah, well, sorry, I didn't mean to understate it.
There's a capital T.
I feel it, but it's more than terror. It's terror. It's terror torture. It's both together. And I don't know if this is the
7 years of being a caregiver to my mother, who was incredibly sick. So
right. Yes and no. Right. Again, how old were you when you were the caregiver? I mean,
right. That was recent. She just
that
died.
was recent.
Yeah.
Right. So those feelings happened when you were with her. Where did those feelings originate?
Right. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Right. Because you were the emotional caretaker of her way back when. So what we're really dealing with is this child who's living in this state of constant torture and has been since you were 5.
Yeah.
And this looks close enough to a scenario where you're going to have to go back into that torture chamber.
Oh God.
And so essentially walking in and sitting with that girl, not who's going to be in a torture chamber, because see, that's a misperception. That's when you look at it like this is a problem that's happening now, who is already actively living in and has been living in every day a torture chamber.
So sorry.
No, go ahead.
Are you suggesting, so the work I'm doing right now is I'm visiting her in her house of torture on a daily basis all day long. And I have my little action buddy on right now who's also participating in that, helping me.
Good.
So are you saying that just keep doing the work on
Yes.
solving being in the house of torture, the house that she never left, unbeknownst to current me, right?
Yes.
She never left that house. So you're saying that working on that will dissolve this fear?
That is correct. I will put lots of money on it. If you go into the house of torture, because all this current situation is, again, this is kind of the formula. Get that what you're living in now is only and every time a replay of the emotional environment of your early childhood home.
Okay.
Period.
Yeah.
End of sentence. Exclamation.
Yeah, her belief is that life is torture and it'll always be torture.
No. I mean, yeah, it's her belief. She's actively being tortured.
Yeah, she's actively being tortured.
Yeah. It's not theory for her. It's not, oh, maybe this is going to happen. It has been happening for decades.
Yeah, and her position is, are you like, what the heck are you doing? Like she's screaming.
That's exactly right. She's screaming at the top.
We're never going to get the heck out of here if you make this decision to be with a person who's older than you.
Right. And so she's in a state of absolute panic. So you can't listen to her about how to manage your life. So we go back to this. You don't want to manage your life by your personal fears and desires. This is a personal fear and a desire to get away from this, to not be anywhere near this. So what you need to do is this thing that we say, it's you stop and you turn and you now console this entity, this creature, this little girl who is misperceiving reality so much that she actually feels like she's under threat. Because I can guarantee you are not under threat. Look at you. You got your hands back. You're okay. You're fine. You're chilled, right? You are not under threat, but she doesn't know that. And so this is what we're all living. This is why it's impossible to just decide and just say, no, I'm just going to live in the flow. Like, good luck with that when you're walking around with, 15 to 25, landmines and time bombs inside of you. It's like, we've got to see that we've got a bomb inside of us. We have to bring that loving compassion in to disarm the bomb. You can disarm the bomb and you can walk around free, in which it will be impossible for anybody to step on that. Like, that is a reality. You've already experienced it. You've experienced it several times. You can undo that knot from the past. Absolutely. And live free. And this is what this guy is doing. He's stepping into more and more freedom and letting go at a deeper and deeper and deeper level. And so there's all these things that when we started reading the book, you weren't aware of all of the things that you were holding on to. And when we started to make a list, all of a sudden, it's really long. And we're gripping onto all of those things out of fear because we're so afraid. She has every reason to be afraid. She earned it. It's appropriate to survive that household. But you no longer have to live in the terror of a 4-year-old girl and have that be your everyday reality. That does not need to happen. And so you're doing the right thing. So you're on the right track. So just keep going, because feelings are finite. And as Buddha said, no, as Winston Churchill said, if you find yourself in hell, keep going. Right? She's in hell. Keep going all the way. Keep walking into it. I think almost with everybody in this room I've experienced, we walk into something that's terrible. You go, your whole body's going, no, 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 no. And you walk into it, and 5 minutes later, you're like, oh, I feel better.
Of practicing the mindfulness to not project this onto the person who is being used as the story is a huge amount of energy, by the way.
I think it's energy well spent.
Oh no, it's critical.
Yeah.
It has to be done, and it's the only loving and right thing to do. It's so wrong to project this, but it requires a really intense level of hypervigilance to not project it.
For now, okay, eventually it just becomes. Eventually, you just know. Oh, this. I mean, it's always a little bit of some work to go. I know this is not about the other person. It should be a mantra. This has nothing to do with the other person. This has nothing to do with the other person. This has nothing to do with the other person. It has only to do with me. It has only to do with me. Let me look into myself. Let me go into the pain. Like, because that's the irony. And so when you're talking about surrender, it's like you're surrendering to the feelings that are happening. They're happening, but we're actively trying not to feel them. But they're there. So all we're doing is we're just allowing reality to be. What could be more natural than that? I feel afraid. I allow myself to be afraid. And I can spend time with that fear, and I can look and go, why is that fear there? Oh, it's because I'm afraid of this. That's there. I allow that to be there. And the more space and the more presence we bring to that, your heart keeps opening, your solar plexus open, your gut opens. And when we get into the workshop today, there's some really good stuff about why. How can I say this without totally giving it away?
Give it away, Ev.
No, I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to say it in a way where I'm going to tease it. I'm in advertising, right? So I'm a filmmaker by heart, so I can't stand spoilers. So it's in order to actually have a connected relationship with your higher power, feeling is essential. And so this practice that we're doing here is more than just healing these wounded parts, which needs to happen for sure. But there's even more to it, which I will tell you later. Okay. All right. So we sort of did that. Anybody have any thoughts on that, or anything they want to say or questions about any of that? We want to wrap up in about 5 minutes, so everybody can go pee before we do the next one.
Susie, why don't you ask your question you have in the chat there? That's good.
I think Evan answered it partly, but the idea is that if Natasha didn't take it to that hellish place, her concerns are valid. He's 15 years old, 14 years older. Preparing for retirement is smart. But you're saying live with the fear, don't irrationalize it. Look at it,
It's a
recognize
great
it.
question. This is a great question. And this,
And
remember I
Thank you,
said,
Susie.
this seems like a rational question. It really does. And it seems like an important thing. And all I can tell you is it's not. And the reason it's not is because what does it say here in the book? Let me see if I can find it real quick. We just all agreed that this whole way of living, like allowing the universe to do it for us, is the best way. Us looking about and worrying. Okay, let me approach the answer from this standpoint. I'll just answer it more easily. When you're making decisions about your future, about your retirement, about the real world, right? Do you think it's wise to use the 4-year-old as your financial advisor? I'm getting some no's. So when you are in this state that Natasha's in, you are in an altered state of reality in which you cannot think straight, you cannot see straight, you are in an absolute dead blind panic. This is not the place to make life choices from. Right? Now, but we have the technology, we have the tools to get sane. And from that place of sanity, from that place of clarity, you will then know what to do. So this whole notion of, yeah, but what about the reality, said the voice of the ego. That is the most common refrain I hear all the time of why people try to stay in panic and figure out their lives. It does not work. It has never worked, and it never will work. But when you get restored to sanity and your executive functioning is returned and you're able to hear your own instincts, well, then you can choose, because maybe she should leave him tomorrow. Or maybe she should spend the rest of her life with him once she gets over her bullshit fear. I'm being facetious, right? So you can't know about reality until you start to have a relationship with reality. You have to get rid of this filter first. Yeah. And we talk about that more. We have a step study that you can sort of follow along on. We're like 2.5 months into it or something, but there's a link that you can get and you can go, and we talk much more. And we need to figure out how to sort of talk about that in here. This whole thing of how do you deal with an immediate problem and how do you walk through it and get to a place of sanity? Because right now we don't have a workshop. I don't even know what to call that workshop. You guys could help me out there.
Because it's a second step thing.
It's kind of a second step thing, but there's also a way to talk about it that doesn't, where you don't have to go, you can do it complete. That's the thing is this, I mean, the steps are great and everything. And all of this stuff is such a natural process. It's almost like the steps is identifying something that's already there. This process of hitting bottom and the phoenix rising from the ashes is natural to all of us. You know, it's there in the Christ story. It's there in Shiva, the destroyer, and all of that stuff. It's everywhere. The steps have their take on it, but it's this natural process. So we can talk about it in a way where we don't have to reference the steps and all that and keep it more neutral. I think Dawn had a question. Does that make sense, Susie, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, Dawn.
It was kind of more of sharing my experience, which Natasha knows, but it kind of aligns with this because I'm with someone that's older and what she has is so valid. And I went through it. The fear of, you know, and I had a sponsor who was like, why are you pushing him in a wheelchair already? You're just dating him. And it was really the fear and everything else. I mean, I was up all night. It was horrific fear, and it just paralyzed me. But for some reason I kept, you know, just like this one day at a time. And I get when you're talking about the sane person versus the 4-year-old and making decisions from the fear. And I wasn't allowed to make a decision at that time. I mean, I could have, right? But I chose to keep, you know, staying in it and just giving it more time. And now I can clearly see what you're talking about is that eventually I came to a place, and it's not to say that hers could totally be a different experience, that I'm so set, like I'm with him and I don't feel those fears. And he's got cancer. So I don't even feel those, it's like I am okay with it. But if you talk, but I wasn't in the beginning.
Right. Right. It was a journey to sanity.
It
And
was, yeah.
And the thing is you didn't have the sort of necessarily the good fortune, so to speak, of to be able to deal with those fears as much in the moment and work through them and get through the fears and the emotions in a quicker and more straightforward way. You kind of because the process of life will teach you. There's no question about it. It will shape you and teach you as it did with you, right? Natasha's got this wonderful opportunity to die before she dies, right? To not have to go through that entire experience, but to experience the death of that part and all of that stuff beforehand, so that you can now choose almost from the future and looking back and go, oh, I want this or I don't want this. Mm-hmm. That, you know what I mean? So we're not saying it's not a valid concern, because it absolutely is. It's just you cannot judge the validity of the concern from the perspective that you're in.
Makes so much sense.
You have get to sanity first, and then you will know what to do is the easy prescription for it. Okay, that was as much fun as we could have with our clothes on. So it was so great. Let's do it again next week. And let's take a 2.5 minute break, and then we'll do the other thing. Good job. Okay. Did anybody else have any
amazing.
That was great. Thank you, everybody.
That was awesome.
Doctor's appointments to be listening while my partner's driving.
Okay. Sounds great.
Okay.
We'll be happy to have you in any form.
All right. See you in a couple minutes.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.